What it is, y'all, it is your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back at you today with more Danmachi. Now, today's going to be a little bit of a different video. Today's really going to be more, like, angled towards the new players of the game, because this is, like, commentary and questions that I get literally all the time when we're streaming. And you guys know, whenever I do, like, an event, let's say for the sake of argument, Heroic Trial. Okay, now we always try to cover the EX mission, and the reason I do that is because this is really the hardest one. This is usually the one people need help with. Now, when it comes to Heroic Trial, or really 7th Zone, or most any mission in the game, you do not have to take on the hardest event, and that's, I think, something that isn't really conveyed properly in my videos. So today's just going to be a blanket, like, explanation as to, if you're new at the game, here's how you need to handle these situations, okay? Very simply put, starting with Heroic Trial, okay? Now, obviously, I've actually finished my Heroic Trial, I already got my bond, but the most important thing here is to acquire a bond. That's what you're after first and foremost, okay? So, how do you acquire that bond? Well, simply beating these events. EX will obviously give you the most number of badges, though even if you can only beat hard, that's still going to give you enough medals that you'll, or say medals of the gems, that you'll eventually be able to acquire the bond that you need. It's really straightforward. In fact, specifically regarding Heroic Trial, the payout is roughly about the same. This is 16 stamina. I forget how many, items you get for that, but it's roughly equivalent to double what you get on normal mode. And about half what you get on very hard. So hopefully that kind of makes a lot of sense. So when it comes to like videos that I'm doing, and when I'm talking about, okay, here's how we're going to take on the EX missions. Sure, I'm taking a maximum break team most of the time. Sometimes it's not necessary, but most of the time. And sure, we're building a really crazy team. If you can't do the EX mission, there's no harm in trying the very hard. Because my goal with this is to help you guys actually beat the hardest mission so you get those rewards. But if you simply can't do it, go down a difficulty, give it your best shot, and eventually you'll find a difficulty that you actually can beat this at. Now, specifically regarding Heroic Trial, that will take significantly longer. It just simply will. It's nature of the beast, so you want to chip away at it every single day. Now, that's Heroic Trial. Let's go over here to 7th Zone as an example, okay? I actually haven't finished my water zones here. I was debating on doing a video for it, and I really feel like I'm just going to kind of do, well, I might do one. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But for now, like, notice I've only got an A clear in here on Fire Zone. Now, obviously, I'm going to go back in. I'm going to fix that. But if for whatever reason you can't beat the very hard missions here on 7th Zone, you're not out of luck. If you beat hard, you still get 12. How is that not done? Well, that's weird. Okay, well, that's not done. So you notice you get 12 of these items, but obviously you get significantly more up here. You get about 16 of them up here. But you don't need to 100% get these. You eventually will, if you fight these fights, accrue enough of these middle-ranged items to go ahead and beat these events. And yes, a lot of times I do try to build a really awesome team here and try to beat it, very quickly. But that is not everybody's going to be going after a high score in this event. There's just not enough room in the game for everybody to have a top 10 score. So obviously that goes without saying, but when you see me building a team that's designed to go for a top score, that's not saying that you should. I'm just saying that that is kind of how you would build a team. That's just really just an example. So if you can't beat very hard, there's no shame in just collecting hearts until you can, or just basically until you get enough of these that you can acquire whatever you need. It's very, very, very simply put. This game is made in such a way that no matter how you go about it, if you can't beat the hardest thing right away, beating the lowest level will most certainly, or lower levels, will most certainly eventually accrue just about everything you need. The one exception to that rule would be our tail events. But if I'm honest here, our tail events, they're so simple, so easy. The very hard is usually laughable. The only thing that wouldn't be is when we get the random EX missions, which we should be getting coming up here for the anniversary. EX missions are exceptionally hard on purpose. Sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 days to drop a video on those just because that is how difficult some of those can be. But when it comes to just the tail itself, you can run the tail with just about any team. Like, this team doesn't need a whole heck of a lot. In fact, a lot of times, notice I'm on very hard here. I'll go over here and grab this team. Now, I do have lead on this team, but I really don't need him. And I don't want to change him. You know what? I'll just change him real quick. We'll put on a level 16. I'll go back and put him on. My apologies to anybody who might be trying to use him at the moment. Let's grab her. Let's grab her. I haven't used her in a really long time. So I've got a team here that kind of has subpar equipment. None of them have the real weapons. They've got the weapons and the equips that give them XP and Valis. So, but yet, when they're not max limit broken, when they're not like crazy wild and, you know, off the charts, they're still, you know, like taking names. And these are all really old units. Like, these units are definitely not remotely up to the current meta. That's partially why it's taking 5 turns. It's not just a 1-turn kill. If lead was here, it'd probably be a 1-turn kill. But neither here nor there. That is the tail. The tail is always crazy easy. If you're not beating very hard on the tail, join one of the Discords. We do have a link in the description for all the Discords, or come to the streams, and we can help you build a team that can do it. Like, the tail is insanely easy. So you definitely really should be aiming to be very hard here. Now, to be fair, if I go back out here to the story event, when it comes to the story event, some of the later very hards in some of these stories, especially newer, bigger, crazier bosses, those units are tricky. I wouldn't say that kind of this exists in this realm, because if you go to very hard here, the final boss on this one is pretty nuts. So you do want to take a little bit of this with a grain of salt. Some of these units, you're just not going to beat your first time out. So in that case, normal and hard, that's fine. Now, the nice part is when it comes to the story mode never expires. So if you don't have some of the very hards beaten, that's literally Iris that you can come farm up at a later date. And you will notice, a lot of times, I just do that anyway. I leave farmable Iris right out here. Now, there's some of these are all max, but I'll leave farmable Iris out here so that I don't have to worry. I can always come back in here and get Iris. So there's really no shame in that either. But mainly, the point I wanted to make here is whenever we cover events, 7th Zone, Heroic Trial, Monsterphilia, which I haven't covered in a really long time, a lot of those types of events, well, Monsterphilia is kind of the exception to the rule, but a lot of these types of events, if you can't beat the very hard, go 1 level down, see what you can do. You will probably be able to acquire whatever rewards you need right out of there. And that includes the upcoming Wrecker Buster. Remember, Wrecker Buster should be back here on Wednesday. If you can't beat the level 6 Wrecker Buster, try level 5, try level 4. Always go for the highest score you can in these. And whenever I'm doing a video like this and I'm taking on the EX missions, I always talk about the tactics. You can't always replicate the team that I'm building, but if you listen to the tactics that we're doing to take these on, you will be able to find somebody in your team that you can at least equate to, or pretty close to, come to what we're doing. Game's very universal like that. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments section down below. But for the most part, I really wanted to talk about that because I get that question all the time. No, you don't have to beat the very hards. You can always save them, come back to them later when it's on the tails, when it's on the, like, 7th Zone is here every week. If you miss 1 or 2, no big deal. Heroic Trial, just beat the lowest level and make sure you get the bond. The bond is the most important thing. So that's really it. Like, comment, share. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments section. And I'll be back with more Danmachi. We got the news coming out here in the morning.